What is up, everyone? My name is Nate. This is Nate and Friends. On this episode of the podcast, we're going to take a look and find out what we can find for you guys. So let's jump right into what we want to jump into. So let's look at what if. I know we like to do what ifs. And let's see what we can find. What if you tried flying tied to a helium balloon? What if you fell? What if you burned all the oil? You know what? What if we discover life after death? Let's see this one. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you guys, and then we're going to talk about it.
Death and the possibility of an afterlife have fascinated artists, philosophers, and scientists throughout history. Fear, hope, dread. These are all things we might feel when we ponder what happens to us after we die. But what does science actually know about the afterlife? If we knew that we went somewhere after we died, would we lead better lives? Or would we shrug off our earthly responsibilities knowing that death wasn't the end? This is What If. And here's what would happen if we discover life after death. Death is not as straightforward as you might think. The term clinical death wasn't even coined until 1846 by Dr. Eugène Bouchou. He suggested that if you listened through a stethoscope and there was no heartbeat for 2 minutes, the patient was clinically dead. Today, determining whether death has occurred is more complicated. The heart can continue to beat for a full week after the brain dies. This was shown by UCLA's 1998 study. These 175 bodies were still functioning 1 week after brain death, called beating heart cadavers. Were they able to make the final jump into the afterlife? We can't tell for sure. The closest we can get to discovering concrete answers is by looking at near-death experiences. According to a 2014 Gallup poll, 8 million Americans claim they've had a near-death experience. And that's just in one country. Stories across the globe describe the same sort of phenomena happening around the time of death. Either being surrounded by a bright light or seeing a being made of bright light. This experience is so prevalent that Bruce Grayson developed the Grayson NDE scale in 1983. The scale determines if a person had a near-death experience based on their answers to 16 questions, such as, did you see or feel surrounded by a brilliant light? And did you seem to enter some other unearthly world? In a 4-year study of awareness during resuscitation, the University of Southampton found that 39% of cardiac arrest survivors claimed to have been aware of their surroundings before their heart was restarted. In most cases, the brain stops working 30 seconds after the heart stops beating. Yet in this study, people claimed they were conscious for up to 3 minutes after their heart stopped. The survivors' experiences included time slowing down or speeding up, out-of-body experiences, or a peaceful feeling. Some even had distinct memories of their surroundings. These experiences make sense when you know that brain activity actually spikes around the time of death. A 2010 study from the George Washington University Medical Center studied the EEGs, or electroencephalograms, of 7 critically ill patients as they were taken off life support. The patients showed a spike of neural activity near death that lasted from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Are these spikes in mental activity proof of an afterlife? Well, the short answer is no. Neuroscientist Andrew Newberg speculates that our parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system begin operating at full speed in near-death experiences. These two systems rarely work side by side, and the combination could create all those otherworldly experiences that people report. But this too is just a theory. So what if a scientist makes the world-changing discovery of an afterlife? How would that affect the way we live? Well, that could depend on the type of afterlife. Let's say there are different characteristics of an afterlife, and the way you lived on Earth determined where you go after death. If this was a hard fact that everyone knew, then we would probably strive to be much better people. People would have different opinions about what factors would be the most rewarded in the afterlife, and this would be a point of conflict. There might even be a whole new field of science dedicated to discovering the rules of the afterlife. But what if the opposite is discovered? What if there's just one place where everyone goes, no matter what they did while alive? Researchers have found that when reminded of death, people tend to shop more, drink more, eat more, smoke more. In other words, they live it up. This doesn't bode well for a reality where the afterlife is just one happy, responsibility-free destination. It would be easy for people to decide that what happened on Earth, or to the Earth, doesn't really matter. There could even be an increase in reckless behavior and suicide. Death cults, anyone? Even if scientists prove the existence of an afterlife, the reality is they wouldn't know how that afterlife functioned. The only people who would know what it was like would be, well, dead. People's understanding about the afterlife would still be formed by their personal beliefs. We'll probably never know if there's an afterlife, but luckily for us, we have longer to live than ever before. A century ago, the average life expectancy dipped as low as age 23 in countries like South Korea and India. Today, the average global life expectancy is 73. It would be wise for us to use our longer lifespans to do good on the Earth that we have. The afterlife may or may not exist, but the world we live in today definitely does. And who knows, maybe someday we won't think twice about the afterlife because we'll have found a way to become immortal. But that's a story for another What If.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you know, so I had, when I was like, I think I was 16, I was in a car accident. I was hit on my passenger side. And he hit me going, he had to be going at least 60, 65 miles an hour, maybe more. And I mean, that passenger door was literally like crunched right to my hip, man. And I remember that there was a lady, like I remember there was a lady who was there who pulled me, helped me out of the car. We sat down on the side of the road. I gave her my wallet. I told her my name. I told her where I lived. I just told her who I was. I told her what I was doing that morning because it was early. It was like 7:30 in the morning. And I was taking my girlfriend of that time out for breakfast. I was going to. She wasn't in the car. Otherwise, unfortunately, she wouldn't have been here. So it's a good thing that she wasn't in the car. But I remember this woman. Like, I remember she was there and she was asking me, she's like, what's your name? Where do you live? I gave her my wallet. I gave my driver's license, social security card. Like I gave her all this information. And I remember when I opened my eyes and I was on the stretcher and I was completely locked down. I had a neck brace on. I was completely still. I couldn't move. And they said, do you know where you're at? And I said, I was like out of it. So I was like, I don't know. And they said, you were just in an accident and, you need to go to the hospital. I need you just to relax. You were in a car accident. And I said, I can't move, and they said, well, we can't let you move. We don't know the extent of your injuries. And I remember they put me in the back of the ambulance and I said, well, where's the lady? I said, where's the woman that pulled me out of the car that I was talking to before you guys got here? And they said, sir, there is no woman and you were not outside of your vehicle. Sir, you were in your vehicle and, you were out, you're passed out. And I said, No, there was a woman. There was a woman. She was there. She helped me. She helped me. She helped me out of the car, and I gave her all my information. They said, "Sir, no, there is no woman. There was no woman. You need to relax." And so I kind of got real antsy, and I got like a little bit of an attitude. And I remember I was in and out. I remember hearing the sirens, and I remember, like, I looked out the one, like, there was a side window in the ambulance, I think it was at the time, or maybe it was the back window, and everything was just moving so quickly, but I was in and out. I was just in and out. And I remember they kept on like hitting me. They kept on like hitting me, like, look, you need, you got to stay awake, don't, you can't pass out. And I remember it's so surreal, when it happens, but I remember them rushing me into the emergency room, and it's weird because it's like a movie, man. Like, I was going down the hallway and there's all these lights, on above, and I'm just and I walked away from that accident with like 4 or 5 stitches in the side of my head and really, really bad whiplash. And that's it. But there was a woman. There was a woman there. I'm not saying that I was dead. Like, I'm not saying that I was dead or I had died, but something happened when I was out. There was something there. And I'm not a super religious guy. I think that, I used to be, I used to really believe in God and pray and do all this stuff, but there's just not enough research behind it for me to really get behind it. I am, like, I guess, spiritual. Like, there's something out there. I just don't know. I don't know exactly what it is, but that moment in my life, really, it makes you feel like there is something, it makes you feel like there is something there, like, I should have been dead in that accident. It was a bad accident. It was a really, really bad accident. And, if I ever find pictures, I'll post them up, on, maybe on like another video, but it was such a bad accident. And when I went to my car, like a week later to get stuff out that was mine, that was in the car, there was just blood. It was just blood everywhere in the car, and you could just see where my head was just sitting there, and the blood had just been dripping or whatever. There was just a lot. It was such a disgusting thing to look at. I was like, Jesus, it's crazy. I can't believe I'm alive, from this accident. But going to that video when it talks about like life after death and being conscious and, all this stuff, it's so interesting because it's like, what is it like after you die? And I'll be honest, like, I don't know if I died during that accident. Like, I don't know, obviously, because I don't know. I don't think I did, but I don't know. But I remember a woman being there. So I guess it's like I'm just relating to the video that I just showed, as in like, well, I had an experience like that. Like, I had an out of body experience where I was literally out of my body, and it was real, man. What I felt was real. It was 100% real. It wasn't fake, man. It was real. I was really on the side of the road. I was really talking to that woman. Yeah. She had like a dirty blonde hair. I think was it brown eyes maybe, or green eyes? And she was wearing a paramedic outfit, like a blue paramedic outfit. I can't make out what city or state it said on the thing, but she was wearing a paramedic outfit, and she was talking to me. She said, "Everything's going to be all right. You're okay. And help is on the way." And I said, I remember I was like, "Who are you?" And she goes, "I'm just the first responder. I saw the accident happen. I'm just here to help you." And then she asked me my name and where I lived and all this stuff. And, but the woman doesn't exist. There was no woman. This woman wouldn't just leave, and I wasn't on the side of the road when they found me. I remember my car being in the position it was in when they found me, and me sitting on the side of the road waiting for an ambulance to come and just thanking God that I was okay. I mean, thanking God. Now like I said, my mind, has kind of changed, but I don't know. So I have definitely had an out of body experience. And it's just crazy. Like, when you watch a video like that and you're kind of like, well, it's interesting. It's really interesting because you don't know, you don't know what's after death. And everybody gets so scared of death, and I'm not so much scared of death. I think for me, the reason death scares me, death doesn't scare me. But when that time comes is who I'm leaving behind, if I'm leaving my wife behind or my children or anything like that. That's, I think, the hardest part. Death is a part of life. You're born basically to live life and die. So I'm not afraid of death. But yeah, man, that video is interesting. It's such an interesting video. And I like showing stuff like this just so that everybody kind of gets a different perspective on stuff. So, do what you want in life. If I could give any advice, is the same advice that video kind of gave, was do what you want, man, and help people. Don't be so closed off and help people that need help. If you can help. If you can't help, I get it. But if you can help people. Just be a better person, man. Be a better person. Don't litter. Make sure you're recycling. Make sure you're doing all that shit. That's really all I got for you guys today, is just an interesting story about me and then that video. I hope you guys really appreciated this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Yeah. And I will definitely see you guys on the next one, and I hope you enjoyed. Again, my name is Nate. This is Nate and Friends. If you want to support my podcast and support me here, I do release exclusive content at www.patreon.com/NNF. So if you want, you can go there. It's $5 a month. You get exclusive content, and I do some pretty cool stuff with it. I'm just starting out with that. So we'll see where it goes. If you want to see the video, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify and you want to see the video that I just played, you can head over to YouTube and search up Nate and Friends and play the latest video. If you want to support me and buy some merch for Nate and Friends, and you want to support my podcast here and help me give you guys better content, head over to www.nnfp.com, and you guys can check out, I release all the latest audio episodes there, and I also release the episodes that are paid episodes. So I release everything there. You guys can check out the merch if you want to support Nate and Friends. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Yeah, baby.